Legends of the vampires stretch back farther than most people realize. Some cultures, such as Mesopotamians, ancient Greeks, and Romans, had their tales of blood-drinking spirits that are alike to our modern vampires. In some places, believing in these monsters became so rife that public executions, hysteria, all of those things happened just if you were believed to be a vampire. But vampires were more famous or infamous when the book Dracula was published. In Dracula, the vampire is just a mindless monster with no emotions, just the lust for blood. German expressionist filmmakers made the Dracula movie into another one called Nosferatu in 1922. In Nosferatu, as you can clearly see, he cannot pause for a human and therefore doesn't have any emotions. Dracula became famous and there are 170 Dracula movies to date. After Dracula, people feared them and literature and media with vampire in it were put under the horror genre. But in the modern day, the presentation of vampires has changed. In this small documentary, I want to explore why and how it's changed. To my mind, I think the changes started with Anne Rice's novel, Interview with the Vampire, which was published in 1973 and became a major Hollywood movie in 1994. What's unusual about this book is that it's told from the actual point of view of the vampire. The vampire, Louis, can feel sadness, anger, and joy. The popularity of this bestseller suggested that many readers enjoyed this unusual perspective. Today there are many books, movies, TV shows about vampires who are dealing with emotions. Today, probably the most famous continuation of Anne Rice's novel would be the Twilight series by Stephenie Meyers. It's more of a romance story than a horror story. In the novel, a human girl falls in love with a vampire, but more importantly, the vampire returns his love to her. This too has been also made into a series of big-budget Hollywood movies. Beyond the silver screen, vampire stories with romantic themes in them continue in TV series such as The Vampire Diaries and Moonlight. That is, they are very romantic in nature. Whilst not focusing so much on the romance, the vampire as a central character is continued in action movies such as the Underworld franchise. A band named Susie and the Banshees were one of the first bands to sing about vampires, with their songs We Hunger and Night Shift having lyrics based about vampires. Not only has emotion been added to the portrayal of vampires in today's media, people have taken interest in them and written about them because they're simply cool. They move fast, they're strong, beautiful, flawless, they sense things we can't. Those are the things that people find so fascinating. Just look at Underworld as an example of a vampire's coolness. Celine, the main character as a vampire, possesses pretty much all of those qualities. After reviewing all of this media, one might ask oneself, what is the influence this has had on people? Because of their fascination of these fictional creatures, people have adopted their looks and behavior. Take, for instance, Maria Jose Cristerna, who was recently named the weirdest woman in the world. She's normally called the Vampire Woman. She underwent many surgical procedures to change her appearance. Maria changed herself for a few reasons, and one of them goes right back to the ancient legends. She wishes to bring back a mythological creature called Lilith, the mother of vampires. Lilith existed at the dawn of time, at the time of Adam and Eve. There are also people who drink blood like vampires, and there are places to go for that type of thing. They drink blood that's been donated. Knowing about the effective influence this has had on people, I have to ask myself, could there be a group of people who go around and killing people to drink their blood, just to follow their vampire fantasies to an extreme? I think the way the media has portrayed vampires has changed from being mindless monsters to cool and romantic heroes. I understand that this different way of thinking about vampires is a good way to make more money for the publishing houses and the movie studios. I've enjoyed the modern interpretation of vampire stories, but I always remember that it is all fictional. I think the act of being a vampire is pretty much bad, anywhere you dress it up. My concern is when people start to confuse fiction for reality. We shouldn't let these monsters be our role models.